Territory live on a Thursday. Braun and Kratz with you at the moment, and big day today. Of course, Kenny Ballgame, Ken Rosenthal joining us, but Erik Kratz, would you like to pre-introduce who will be joining us in a bit on FT Live?
The Grim Reaper with the Slim Steeper. Absolute Christian Yelich, just bringing it. I mean, I hope Yelich can open up on this forum because he is an absolute peach, and he's stuck in Milwaukee needing to get the vibes going for the rest of the country with what they have in Milwaukee. Ugh, I love it. I need it.
I'm excited. Great personality, a lot to get to. I got some food conversation to go over with him, who are his best friends in the sport. Remember, he's also a World Baseball Classic champ, which he holds over many superstars like Mike Trout and Mookie Betts. You know, when he plays them, I'm wondering if he's like, "Oh, hey guys, how'd you do in your WBC? I won in 2017. No big deal."
Whoops. No. How's that metal feel around your neck? Mine's gold. Yours is silver.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Appreciate everyone in there in the chat with us on YouTube, and been receiving quite a few questions too from fans. And as you can see, we feed you and get you those answers from our guests. So we'll continue to do that too. I'll call for questions when we get there. One thing before we dive into today's headlines, Kratzy, disappointment for me yesterday from a scheduling perspective. This is also a forum for us to complain. Awesome. Day games, great. No problem. You can outrate FT Live for now. We'll get you eventually. But one game to watch at night, and I'm actually a big fan of locking in on one game. I'm trying to do that more often. I've been like scatterbrained for years, and part of that was like hosting a show where you bounce all over the place. And I actually really enjoy kicking back, especially now with the pace and watching one game. But only one game, and I don't have a late game. Like, there was just way too much of a gap yesterday for me to just watch the night action. So that was what bothered me. It's way too early in the season. I'm like, pump the nighttime baseball into my veins. Daytime, sure, 1 or 2 games, whatever it is. And I know there's getaway days and everything else going on. But Kratzy, I would love to bring on the master scheduler of all of Major League Baseball. I picture it's like that person from, did you see the Matrix movies?
Yeah, love those.
Wasn't there somebody that put everything, the bookkeeper?
The bookkeeper, the gate, and that's when they met the key maker too.
Key holder, key maker.
The key maker.
So
the key maker was the Asian guy, yeah.
Yes, I'm picturing it's just this one person who's like the grand master that puts all of the puzzle pieces together. But I've had a few bones to pick where like I think Thursday was opening day. Crazy that it's only been a week. Friday we had no daytime baseball. That's a miss. And then this week already we have no nighttime baseball during this time period. And I think there's been 2 nights now where it's been kind of quiet. So I get that it's a little funky at the start of the year, but you need to feed your audience. You need to think about that.
Absolutely. You need to feed them, and you need to sell certain blocks. Like opening day, yes, is awesome, but like, what about opening weekend? Like, hey, we're taking Thursday, Friday off. We're going to this game. We're going to do this on Friday. And, then we'll hit it hard on the weekend. Like, think about when college football comes up. And I'm going to always go to college football, NFL. They play less games, but their events are events. They're like parties. There's whole, like, the tailgating and everything. And I get it. You can't do 162 days of tailgating. I'm not suggesting that. You'll spend the off season in some type of rehab of some kind. But I think there is something to be done there. Obviously, that's not my lane. I'm not a scheduler. I'm just going to show up and I'm going to grind it out whenever I need it. But I always heard a story when I played that the person, because we'd always complain about the schedule, well, you can't have this. And they have a lot of this stuff in CBAs, like you can't have a night game when you're flying across the country after the game. But then it added an off day, so you get in at like 8 a.m. You're essentially taking a red eye across the country. But I heard that the scheduler is like the same couple for the last 40 years. It's an old couple in Iowa. And I know it's got to be a Reddit myth, but I am loving seeing an old couple in Iowa with their kitchen table that their kids used to sit with, and they have all the teams in stacks, and they draw out on their calendar, that's probably like a cat calendar, all the games in each day, and they're like, finish, and they finish with like a cup of tea by the end of their scheduling. So that's how I envision it. And so I don't know if they really even care that they have a Friday off and that teams could care less about attendance until schools are out. But, I think all of it goes into it.
No, they should call us because I can help them out. I would love to help them out to make this.
Scott Braun, the scheduler.
Call me. I'm here. I would love to be a part of that. Just putting all the pieces together and going through each day and being like, is this the best day that we can offer our fans? Is this going to be an entertaining day? And do we have baseball from start to finish as best as possible? So
I don't want to do that at all. There's not, because I would have Mike Trout play at whatever time you need to see the most fans on TV. I would have Mike Trout play all the time. And I would give my guys at the Yankees at least some Sunday nights off. They would have some Sunday day games because it's like the super low-hanging fruit. They're just like, oh, Yankees are playing on a Sunday? Boop. ESPN game. Oh, the Yankees are playing on a Friday? Neat. Amazon Prime Nintendo Switch game. Like, you're gonna need to, my iPhone is not gonna work because I'm gonna need to buy the Samsung Wednesday getaway game that the Yankees are for sure gonna have.
I like that. I don't like the Trout. I get what you're saying to make him more available for the younger crowd, maybe going to sleep early on a school night or something. But I mean, Angel fans are not like trying to have 3-4 o'clock games regularly. But I feel what you're saying. Here and there, mix it up. I'm with you. All right, ready? Let's hit it. So some fans very soon might be like, can we get Grayson Rodriguez on primetime TV, please? One of the top prospects in the sport. At least on FT Live. That's true. Would love to talk to him. So he made his debut yesterday, and he was nervous in the first inning. Everyone's nervous, everyone always says, when they make their debut. But he said, quote, there were a lot of nerves that first inning, really couldn't feel the baseball. Couldn't feel this baseball. I kind of felt like I was on an island, but yeah, the second inning was pretty normal. Here's Molly Knight watching him in the third inning and pointing out Dad Rodriguez is a little bit nervous. Oh my. This had already happened, but I was looking at that clip that Molly posted, and I felt a little extra in the heart. I was like, heart got heavy. I'm like, Dad, don't worry, he's going to get out of it. He did. He really recovered and bounced back well from a 30-pitch first inning where he gave up a couple runs. Ended up 5 innings, 2 runs, 4 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. They let him go 83 pitches. His team lost, and partially that was the bullpen there. Josh Young had a big homer, and DeGrom was pitching on the other side of the matchup. But all around, I mean, for Grayson Rodriguez, what a debut for someone who had a lat strain last year. He struggled when he came back. He struggled mightily in spring training, and even in his season opener in AAA, he was 4 innings, 3 runs. And then it's like you come up to the bigs, and the stuff plays, and he's probably not going to look back if he looks like he did in yesterday's game.
I don't see why not, but obviously I haven't gotten a full sample size of player number 22,881 to make the big leagues. Like, let that number sink in, that in the history of baseball, in the history of the world, 22,880 people before yesterday had ever played or pitched a game in the big leagues. And this guy looks like he's going to be there for a long time. Maybe to the chagrin of his dad. I think his dad might need a couple pills because he looked stressed during that game. I mean, my guy was – they showed the embrace after the game, which made me tear up. But, hugging his dad and him crying, like, you just feel – you feel when you hug somebody in a huge moment, after accomplishing something that they've probably worked at or he's seen his son work at for such a long time. And, like, that emotion just, like, pours over everybody. I love it. I love that, and I think that is so awesome. But I was feeling for his dad. His dad was grinding, sweating. You couldn't see it on that video, but he was sweating when he was wiping his head off.
Losing years of his life, and you've seen that, right? Both with your fam and with other players making their debuts. So here's my question, Kratzy, for the player perspective. Are there any players and or families that are legit not nervous when they make an MLB debut? Have you ever seen or experienced that where a player just comes up and you're like, does this dude even know what's going on right now? Or his family, where they're just like very ho-hum, like, great job. Maybe they're not huge baseball fans. I don't know, because you see it, you love it. We soak it up. So that's the norm. Is there anything that is veered outside of the norm?
I saw one guy force a yawn in his first big league at bat. And that was so tired because it just showed that was like his outward way of saying, like, it's no big deal. Like, you gotta give me a little more than that. Like, don't force a yawn. You're not bored in your first big league at bat. But I've seen parents that are that parent who is way too invested. Like, I feel like Grayson Rodriguez's dad was invested in his son, like, and what that moment meant for him. And I felt like this parent, that I won't say the parent's name or the player, but it was like he was on him like it was the third game of the high school season. Like, he was like, you kidding me? Like, he had thrown 3 straight balls for his first ever big league outing, and they showed the video of him, and the dad was like, ugh. And I would have never thought about it, but the guy goes, oh, yeah, my dad was up there pissed. He was looking at me. I made eye contact with him, and he was pissed at me because I threw 3 straight balls. He's like, Dad, I'm sweating my face off. He said, I have no shot. But it was a relationship where, like, they would yell at each other. So it was, like, super awkward, and you felt bad for the guy. You felt bad for the player because you're like, man, I wonder, this is what you've dealt with your entire life. That just, I don't know. He still made the big leagues. He's had a good big league career, too.
I can't wait to get some of those names. And hey, you're the best. You'll give out names when necessary, but I understand withholding your names in this particular situation. Before we get to Ken Rosenthal, I got one other topic I want to hit. Of course, it's pitch clock related. No surprise. So 2 things happened. One, we got more history yesterday. Shohei Ohtani, pitch clock violation as a pitcher and as a hitter. And that was the between at bat pitch clock violation for Shohei. And then also when he was on the mound, he was flagged. He still did okay. He still won, cashed my bet. We'll get to that later. But then the more notable news came from the White Sox game against San Francisco. Tim Anderson tossed Logan Webb with a little quick pitch action in your mind, Kratzy? Because that was the big argument going on. And then we've got some quotes. We're basically doing that's what he said at the top of the show today. 1-2 count in the 3rd inning. Tim's in the batter's box, but not ready, according to Tim. And you can look, I don't know if he was necessarily ready. And that's what's going to be so weird. It's like, is the ump staring into the eyes and getting lost in the eyes of every hitter to know exactly when is ready? Or do we just do something normal and make the hitter do like an I'm ready, which I guess would be weird and annoying too. But 11 seconds left on the pitch clock. So, it's early. I don't think he's going to pitch. And Webb fires. Tim starts walking off, almost like he's walking out of the batter's box and then just walking back to the dugout, and said it was bullshit that he was quick pitched. And Logan Webb post-game goes, so he was yelling at me from the dugout for 5 straight pitches. I looked at the dugout more than a couple of times, once during the Luis Robert at-bat, and then after his at-bat. You can probably see what I said. He was just yelling back at me. And then this is Scott Merkin's tweet from Logan Webb on the ejection. He called time, and he got back in the box. He was looking at me. I was looking at him. So I started my windup. I wasn't trying to quick pitch or anything, but he took it that way, I guess. Kratzy, who's in the right, who's in the wrong here? Yeah, and this is the tweet for the YouTube crowd, which I just read for the podcast crowd, but they were going back and forth about this.
Yeah, I think, obviously we're talking about it today, but I feel like it's like, TA, you got to kind of suck it up. Like, it's about trying to throw your timing off, and you can't just run your own, like, oh, well, you know what I want to do? I want to wait to make sure that I have my best chance. Like, Logan has the pitcher has control of the game. If the pitcher doesn't want to take control of the game, then the hitter gets control of the game and how the pace is dictated. And I think it's great gamesmanship. I don't think it's Bush League. I don't think anything like that. I think TA's in the right to yell at him because there's something like, okay, I don't want you to do that again, so I'm going to yell at you. But, how long you're going to keep yelling? Like, it's a lot like when guys would get a breaking ball, would get like 3 straight breaking balls and strike out. And they'd be like, throw your fastball. Like, what? Why would I throw a fastball? I just folded you on 3 straight breaking balls. Like, I'm going to throw another breaking ball because I don't want you to hit a dinger. Like, I'm going to quick pitch you if I'm not told by the umpire to not quick pitch you. I think it's completely, I love it that Logan Webb did that because it shows he's aware of what that timer is, and he's aware that the timing for the hitter can get thrown off if you're not pitching at the exact same time all the time. Now, I don't want it to ever become dangerous. When quick pitching started like really coming up where guys would like nobody on, they would come set, and then they would like have a leg kick, and sometimes it'd just be like, whoop, quick pitch. Guys would get butthurt about it, but nobody ever, no hitter was ever like, oh man, he quick pitched me. Man, that's Bush League. That's why I hit a home run off you on that pitch. No, they're always yelling at you because they struck out. TA struck out. Like, I don't know, man. I think he's got to suck it up.
This is interesting because Ohtani, who I mentioned earlier, had the pitch clock violation where they thought he was quick pitching because the hitter is allowed to kind of notify that he's ready if it's before the 8-second mark, which, hey, if I'm feeling a little confused and I watch games every day and there was a memo sent out in spring training about quick pitching and the dangers of making sure that the hitter's ready, you're kind of presenting the other side, which makes total sense to me too, in terms of why a hitter should be ready. And there is a danger threshold of, you don't want a guy looking down and then a pitch comes in and smashes him in the head. So let's bring in our senior insider, Ken Rosenthal. And let's start here. Ken, what did you think of the Tim Anderson situation, which ultimately led to him being tossed? And he was, jabbing at Logan Webb even from the dugout. Did you think, let's cover the actual situation first, Ken. Did you think one side or the other was in the wrong as far as the game action?
Well, first off, I'd like to hear from Tim. He has not commented on this yet, and I'd like to hear his side of it before really passing judgment on my own. But I sort of saw it the way Erik did, that, listen, under these rules, a pitcher, once a hitter is set, can throw the ball. And that appears to be what happened. Now, did it appear to be, in Anderson's mind, a quick pitch? Yes, because once the 8 seconds hit and he was alert to the pitcher, boom, here we go. But again, that seems to be okay, right? So we're going to have these shades of gray as we go forward with the pitch clock and as hitters and pitchers learn to use it to maximum advantage. So I didn't know that Logan Webb did anything wrong. I do know, based on what Logan Webb said, that the ejection was unwarranted because Anderson was not yelling at the umpire. Logan Webb said he was yelling at Logan Webb. So from that perspective, it does not seem that Tim Anderson should have been ejected. But again, I'd like to hear his side of this because, guys, so often in this game, Erik, I don't need to tell you this, you hear one thing and you see it one way and then you talk to somebody else and you hear their perspective and it just kind of broadens your own views on the matter.
Yeah, I agree. And I just want to know how many shades of gray do you think it is?
Good question. And there are going to be things that come up, and we've seen it already. So baseball would like it not to be gray at all, right? They would like it to be a situation where everyone understands exactly what is going on at all times. There are going to be some growing pains with this. By and large, guys, I think it's gone incredibly smoothly. Jason Stark has an article in The Athletic today detailing the 10 craziest ones so far, but the violations, if I'm not mistaken, they're averaging fewer than one per game. That's kind of nothing. So all that said, it seems that this rollout is going pretty smoothly. Now, it's not going to be perfect. It was never going to be perfect, but by and large, it seems to be okay.
Ken, let's get into your big article. You absolutely unloaded a ton of notes in your latest post on The Athletic. I wanted to start with Tyler O'Neill, Ollie Marmol, and the St. Louis Cardinals situation. We covered it at length and got a lot of good player perspective on it. And we were just kind of covering all of the comments out there all over social media because Cardinals fans were mixed with their reactions. And it wasn't even one side or the other. There was like 4 sides to the story. Some of them were like, hey, it's on Tyler, he's got to hustle more. Some were Marmol haters for calling him out. Some were haters on the third base coach for sending him. And then there's even another group that was like, this guy gets hurt a lot. Maybe he's trying to make sure he stays on the field. So where do you stand in this love square?
Scott, it's good you pointed out that there are so many different perspectives on this because, in my view, this is a nuanced thing. And it's not a matter where you can say, hey, you've got to play the Cardinal way and hustle. No. There is much more to it than that. And really, it involves a player who has been hurt a lot, a player the Cardinals want on the field. I imagine have told him they want him on the field. And he seemingly was protecting himself based on what we saw. Now, that's a fine line, Erik, right? Because are you protecting yourself or are you giving full effort? And that is a clubhouse where you have some veteran leaders, Arenado, Goldschmidt, Adam Wainwright, and these guys want the game played, I'm quite sure, a certain way. So Ollie Marmol, from his perspective as a manager, is, I'm sure, incorporating that in his head. But before we go blaming Tyler O'Neill and saying, this is a guy who doesn't hustle, slow down, because there is more involved here. And when a guy is trying to stay healthy and doesn't give full effort on a single play, I don't know that you can condemn him. What we don't know here is if there is anything else going on behind the scenes and whether there was a reason Ollie Marmol felt compelled to do this publicly. By and large, that isn't done today. Guys do not like to be called out publicly, do not like to be embarrassed, but who knows? Maybe there was something that led up to this that forced or caused Ollie Marmol to think, okay, let's take this public. Let's make people understand where we're coming from here. I don't know the answer to that. We don't know exactly what was going on behind the scenes, but it seems to me there might have been more to it.
Yeah, and you had the Bader situation last year, and he actually ultimately was traded, and there's outfield depth with the Cardinals too. Let's stay in the division for a moment, because you also covered the Brewers. We've had a pretty nice week. I've said from the jump, and not just because he's joining us regularly, I think Freddie Peralta is going to have a big year. Burns actually so far with a down start to the season. But what did you write about with Milwaukee currently?
Well, it's a really interesting situation, Scott. And it seems to me, I've speculated on their possible trade candidates. A lot of people have speculated upon them. Teams have speculated, fans, you name it. But the Brewers got to play the game. And they don't necessarily think their season's going to go in a bad place. And look at them now. They're 5-1. They just kicked the Mets' butts for 3 days. So they're in a spot where even if they play well, and even if they are a force in the division, as they've been really for the last several years, they've got some hard decisions coming. Burns, Woodruff, Adames, Lauer, Rowdy Tellez, all free agents after next season. Now, last year, when they had Josh Hader, who was a guy with a similar amount of service time left, 1+ years, they traded him in the middle of a pennant race. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do that again. I don't know. But it's something that they have to look at, because the other aspect here is that they don't have young pitching coming. They lost Ashby to surgery. They don't really have a great group of pitching prospects. They do have a terrific group of position player prospects, and we've seen them on display now. Garrett Mitchell, Bryce Terang, Weimer, all these guys, and Frelick Cumming are impressive, athletic, energetic players. So where do they go at the deadline? Do they simply stand pat? I don't know that they can afford to do that, because the value for a Burns or a Woodruff or any of those players I mentioned will be much greater at the deadline when they're available for 2 pennant races than it will be in the offseason when they're only available for 1 and getting raises in arbitration and all that. So it's going to be a really interesting couple of months for the Brewers. Craig Counsell, the other thing that I should mention, I didn't mention this in the article, it's the last year of his contract. And clearly there is just a lot in play there, and a lot that they're going to have to decide as we go along.
Do you see the Brewers, and I mean, I'm not going to make you put the math down, but have you heard or seen the Brewers, like, where are they going to put their payroll? Like, are they willing to make it go up incrementally with inflation? Are they willing to, we have really hit the ceiling right now, and we're going to have to go down from here? You know, where does that go? And if that's the case, you brought up, you're reading my mind. I had 2 questions, because I was going to ask about Counsell, and I had another question earlier from what you were talking about with the O'Neill thing, and you answered them right away. Do you think this is the time when Counsell, if he's on the way out, do you think they go back to that payroll, or are they like, hey, Counsell's in, now our payroll could increase a little bit? I'm not saying they're going to go Cohen style, but I'm saying, could it increase?
I don't know, Erik. And the one thing teams don't ever reveal is payroll intentions and where they expect to be. We do know the Brewers play in what Mark Attanasio, their owner, has said is the smallest market in the major leagues. So that informs their payroll, right? Mark Attanasio is not Peter Seidler. He doesn't have, seemingly, the resources that Seidler does. I don't know what his bank account looks like, and just as I don't know what Seidler's looks like, but it's safe to say that they're in a smaller market, and he, to this point, has not operated the team like the Padres have operated their club this year and last couple of years. So even if they decide they want to stay at the same level, the fact of the matter is they've got some raises coming. Burns and Woodruff, all these guys will make more next year in their final year before free agency than they're making this year. So just to stay even and not increase, let's just say that's their plan, they would have to do some things. And it all depends on attendance. It depends on the success of the team and all of these different factors. But based on what we've seen so far, Mark Attanasio is not going to be, again, Peter Seidler, much less Steve Cohen. So they are operating within their budgetary restrictions, and that forces the issue on all of these other things I'm talking about, the potential trades. It also makes it more imperative that they start developing pitching because they need affordable guys. It's a complicated equation for Milwaukee.
Kratzy, the only payroll I'm certain about is Cohen. It's unlimited. It's FU money. And it's already being looked at forward from Mets fans. They can't even appreciate the moment that it's a playoff contender. They're like in my text group with some of my family and friends, Mets fans, they're like, when do we get an Ohtani? So you covered that a little bit. It was like one of the hottest videos we put out there too, talking Ohtani from a few weeks ago. Of course, he's going to get discussed all year long, especially if the Angels are mediocre. And I know they're off to a decent start, and Ohtani pitched them to a win yesterday. But what angle did you cover with Ohtani and Steve Cohen actually making a trip out to Japan? Not to have like a one-on-one with him. You're not allowed to do that, but he was experiencing baseball out there, right?
Right. And this happened during the WBC. Steve Cohen was at the Tokyo Dome for Ohtani's start against Italy. Pitched well that day, pitches well seemingly every day. And it didn't get a lot of attention at the time, at least in this country. And I thought it was interesting. What's he doing there? So he said that he was there for business reasons. He had a meeting, and he also took two of his daughters there. He kind of combined the business and pleasure elements, and he just happened to be there when Ohtani was pitching, and he figured he'd go to the game. Now, there's an agent who once told me there are no coincidences in baseball. I've kind of followed that credo throughout my career, but this is what Cohen said. Regardless, he's there. And the fact that he was there, the way Japanese players think, the cultural differences that are involved here, that's meaningful to them. And major league clubs establish a presence with players that they think might become pretty good professionals as far back as when these guys are in high school. They want to be seen because it's meaningful for the players there to have those major league presence or people there. So from that perspective, Ohtani certainly would have noticed Steve Cohen or would have been told about Steve Cohen being there. And let's remember also, the Mets general manager, Billy Epler, was the general manager of the Angels who signed Ohtani in the beginning. Now, what we don't know is if Ohtani is even interested in playing in the East Coast. He wasn't, it seems, the first time he was a free agent coming over from Japan. And then the question becomes, okay, if he is interested, would he be willing to play for the Mets, who have another Japanese player? And as I explained in the article, sometimes because of the hierarchical system that is part of their culture, the seniority aspect of it, Japanese players do not want to play with other Japanese players. It's a complicated thing. It's something that we don't experience here. I don't know if that will be a factor or not. I don't know if the East Coast, West Coast thing will be a factor or not. I do know this. Ohtani is going to want Steve Cohen bidding for him. And if he has preferences, he's not going to reveal them until after this thing is over, if then.
Kratz, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, I'm waiting
Fire
for you.
away.
Oh, I was waiting on you. I read the chat wrong.
Oh, well, there
My
you
bad.
go.
Behind the scenes.
Real life. We're live, baby.
I
Go for it. I'm like,
what I want
to
to know about is a fandom that is crazy for some baseball, and they're just not showing up in Boston. Like, take us into what is happening in that scene.
Well, the attendance has been down, and I know it's April, and it was the Pirates, and you can build in your excuses, but if the Red Sox had a really good team, and you see the graphic right there explaining just how down it was yesterday, if they had a really good team, if Xander was back and they were excited about this group, I think it would have been a little bit better than 24,000 yesterday. And it was a cold day, no question about it. But the bigger question is, how are the Red Sox going to perform? And the early signs are not good. 2-4 against the Orioles and Pirates. And if you remember, One of their wins came after the routine third out was dropped in left field by Ryan McKenna. I know these things happen in baseball, but they were that close to being 1-5. So are they going to play better? That's question number one. Now, their schedule in April is fairly easy. 9 of their first 10 series are against non-playoff teams from last year. They've also got Tampa Bay. So you would think they'd be building momentum now. But their starting pitching has been awful. They are unable to control the opponent's running game. It's been crazy the way teams have run on them. And even if the weather was nice in Boston right now, I'm not so sure fans would be too thrilled about going to see this team play. So it's early, of course. And like I said, the schedule is favorable to them in April. But they've got to play better, and they've got to pitch better, and we'll see if that happens.
Because they're such a good fan base, do you think, this is a concerted effort? Hey, you didn't sign our guy Xander, and we're banding together as a fan base, and we're not going to support you.
Like a protest, Kratzy?
Kind of like a protest. And it's easy to protest when it's 40 degrees and it's windy, but there is never. I was at Fenway when they had some bad teams, and they still showed up. They wanted to see Big Papi. They didn't want to see Brzezinski, but he's not on here, so I can't really bag him too much. But, they wanted to see Petey play. And when you lose a guy like Xander, do you think this, have you been to Boston? Is there, not protests, don't show up to the game, but they're just hey, we're good. It's not spring yet.
Well, the weather is a huge issue, of course. But if I had to speak for the people of Boston, and I can't do that, of course, because it's a diverse city with all kinds of opinions, my guess would be that there is more apathy right now than when you described, Erik, when you were there. And that is partly because of the way the team has been run the past few years. Let's face it. It's the loss of Bogarts. Yes, they re-signed Devers, but in general, Chaim Bloom has made moves that have not necessarily been popular. You can go back to the deadline last year when they kind of went halfway. They didn't go all the way. And it's just a different team now. JD Martinez is gone. They bring in Justin Turner. They bring in some other players. Trevor Story is one of their better players. He's hurt. It's a show-me thing, I would expect there right now. Fans are saying, okay, you want to come out? Well, show us how you have improved the team. Now, again, it's not fair to pass judgment until there's some better weather, because it's just tough to go to the ballpark in 40 degrees. And especially when the opponent's the Pittsburgh Pirates, who played great in Boston. I'm not taking anything away from them, but they're not a great draw right now. So, again, we have to let this play out like every other situation in baseball right now. It's easy to overreact this time of year. But are there warning signs? Are there things to be concerned about? Absolutely.
But the ownership got booed at their fan fest.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is real. And I think a fan base that is this tight knit, if your ownership's getting booed, how does that play out?
Well, that was before they lost Bogarts and re-signed Devers, which is kind of not even, but it works out okay in a way for them. Although I don't know about losing Bogarts. They should have kept him and kept Devers. But anyway, I don't know how it works out. And the other element here that's interesting is that ownership, and we've seen this time and time again, is very reactive to public pressure. So when the heat starts mounting in Boston, as it can, yes, you will see them react as an ownership group. It could be that the general manager's in trouble. It could be the manager's in trouble. I'm just speaking generally here. I'm not talking about Chaim Bloom or Alex Cora in particular. That is the way that team has been run. It's kind of a whiplash effect. They're either really good or really bad, it seems, for the last, 15, 16 years. They've had some amazing highs, 4 World Series titles, but they've had some pretty bad lows too. And Chaim Bloom was hired to kind of even things out. It hasn't worked out that way just yet.
So I got 2 fan questions for you, and actually playing off what you're talking about with Boston, this is pretty relevant because also the division is tough from top to bottom. There's just no breaks. They're looking like a last place team, at least on paper. So Iraj asking live here in the YouTube chat, Are we buying the Rays? Not great competition, ... And we can relate it to, in your article in The Athletic, what you talked about with, I think you covered Tigers, Nats, which those are their first two opponents, and then they play the A's coming up. So I'm taking everything with a grain of salt, even though I do like the Rays roster.
Yeah, I wrote about them earlier this week. Their competition and their schedule in April, it might be even weaker than the Red Sox. It's really easy. So no major league game is easy. I get it. And certainly it's a challenge to win every day. But the two things to look at here, one, offensively, they've been really good so far. Now, that's probably a reflection of the competition to some degree. This is not a great offensive team, but Wander Franco is potentially a superstar in this game. And we've kind of lost sight of him a little bit. He got hurt last year. Keep your eyes on him. Arozarena, we know what he can do, and it seems like they're getting some contributions from some guys that maybe we haven't heard much about and can still be a pretty big force for them. That's one. The second thing, and the bigger thing, starting pitching. Now, I spoke to someone from the Rays this week, and he said, yes, we're playing weaker clubs, no question, but our pitchers, our starting pitchers, are executing. So it's not simply a matter of playing a weaker team. When you have a starting pitcher who is on, who is executing, and I'll let Erik speak to this, that is a good sign for the future. And what's so interesting about the Rays is this is the team that gave us the opener, the team that a lot of people perceived as kind of opposed to starting pitching because of the way they conducted themselves. But they did all that strategically because they didn't have Shane McClanahan and Rasmussen and Eflin and all the guys that they have now. And it was a different look. Now they've got strong starting pitching. Glass now coming back at some point in May. They're in a pretty good spot, and it's impressive to see.
Okay, Ken. I mean, questions have been flooding in. There's one fun one just at the end before I'll let you go. One more on the baseball side. I'll let you pick. I'm going to do it this way because I know you were at Yankees, and there's some Phillies questions here too. So either this one's from TC Steels. Ask Ken when he thinks the Yankees will cut ties with Aaron Hicks. If you heard anything last week, just about what the Yankees' feelings are about him. It's been a tough signing for them. Or if you've got better juice on a question from Seth: is Bryce Harper taking on-field PP this week a surprise? How soon will the Phillies release Christian Pache and bring up Scott Kingery? They just traded for him. I can answer that. Relax. But anyway, is there anywhere you want to go from any of those?
I'll try both. Now, Hicks is a guy they've stuck with this long. They still believe he can play. At least that's their public stance. They're giving him chances. It's hard for him right now. He is a guy who has struggled. There's no question about it. The fans are all over him, and he gets limited opportunities. So if you're Aaron Hicks, okay, you're not playing well, haven't played well in a while, but it's hard when you're playing every few days, right? I don't know how quickly they'll cut ties with him. He's still a major league player and a guy that may have some use to them at some point. And I'll point to a different circumstance with the Yankees. It's a better player of late and a guy who's accomplished more, I guess, than Hicks has. But Gleyber Torres, I brought this up a couple of weeks ago. Trade Gleyber Torres, bring up Peraza, let's go. Which still makes some sense if you want to save money and do some different things and maybe get pitching for Gleyber. But look at the start that he has had. So players' fortunes can turn. And I'm not saying Aaron Hicks is going to set the world on fire tomorrow, but I'm not so sure that the Yankees are ready to just say goodbye yet either. Harper is an interesting case. Now, he's going to push this. We know it. He's Bryce Harper, and he wants to be back on the field. Remember, they didn't put him on the 60-day injured list because they didn't need to. They were leaving their options open. I don't know that we can predict when this is going to happen, but in his case, it probably is a matter of sooner rather than later, barring no setbacks. What does that mean? May or June as a DH, that would be probably the best case scenario.
All right, perfect. Hey, man of the people, Kratzy. He's like, you know what? I got them both there. Ken, we appreciate it. Again, congrats on launching the show this week. The last kind of fun question was from a fan asking to guesstimate how many bow ties you own. I'm trying to, Jeff, how many bow ties does he have? I guess he probably watched the show where you kind of explained the backstory there. So that's the follow-up. And also just want to say, Ken will do some Q&A in his show from fans that'll come in probably on Twitter or something. But from the YouTube live chat, do you have a random number that you could throw out there, you think?
Well, it's a big number. I would say it's over 100. That would be my guess. And keep in mind, each one represents a different charity, and some are more in circulation than others. I wear them more frequently than others for a variety of reasons. And we are usually adding 1 or 2 a year as well. So I'd say it's over 100. I only wear them on the Fox games. I don't go out in public to a wedding or something and wear bow ties to that. I don't wear them to the ballpark. It's just for Fox. So it's not like I've got this constant circulation of bow ties going around my brain. But yeah, I've got a bin right in back of me, and it's full of the bow ties, and I got to sift through them each week to see which one I'm wearing.
Awesome. All right. I encourage everyone either tap into the YouTube show, or I know many people have been downloading the podcast and subscribing to Ken's show this week. Ken, thank you. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on your show on Monday.
Sounds great, Scott. Thank you. See you, Erik.
See you.
All right. Good stuff. Do you have any bow ties?
I do have one bow tie.
One.
Ironically, it's a clip-on or whatever it comes around and it clips together here. Yeah. And you want to guess how old it is?
15 years old.
High school, longer.
Wow. It's from high school.
It's a classic. It's like black and gray. I think one of my sons wore it to like a play. They were dressing up for something. So yeah, 100%. Everybody's got to have one bow tie.
I don't know if I have one anymore. Actually, I guess you get for the weddings sometimes that you're in.
Do you have suspenders? Like, I feel like
I don't own any of that stuff. I rent it, if I have a wedding or something like that to go to, and it's like whatever they want me to wear. So, but no, I don't own any of that stuff.
Are you a wedding crasher? You should own that stuff.
I'm not a wedding crasher. I'm actually, what's the opposite of a wedding crasher?
You're a wedding
ditcher.
Not a wedding ditcher.
Okay. And here's why. Because for the previous 11 years, I had no control of my schedule. I never had weekends off pretty much until the last few years. And you work all summer and you're on the road. So 90% of wedding invitations were, here comes your gift in the mail. It's just how it was.
Are you a good gift giver, though?
Fam.
Are you a good gift giver?
Yeah. You know how I give gifts for weddings? You either hit the registry, which is easy because then you're getting them something they want, and you do it well. Or I usually also do the call to friends. I like to make sure that I am giving something up to standards, because I don't know, and the Northeast is full of this, all of like the wedding rules and the family rules and all these kind of things, right? And my family's chill, but I'm saying, you go to a friend's wedding or you don't go. So I'll just hit someone else and be like, what are you giving? Like, what's the, try to hit like the highest bidder and be like, all right, I'm in. So I'm looked at well. You know what I'm saying?
Ice cream, but you can always go ice cream maker. If you don't, whoever's
really?
Getting married, yeah. I guess that's different in the suburbs. In New York, you're like, oh, I don't have space for an ice cream maker. But think about like an ice cream maker. Who doesn't smile? Even you don't need dairy. Like you could make some like almond ice cream or something.
True.
Some banana ice cream.
AJ, are you in the house now? Can you hear us?
I can hear you, but I don't know if you can hear me.
No, you're good. You're good, dude.
We can't hear you.
How you doing?
Been better.
He looks extra steamy right now.
Kratzy, can you hear him?
Yeah, no, I can't. I can't hear him right now. He's not talking.
You can't? Oh, I hear him. AJ, talk one more time. You look very.
You guys still can't hear me?
Yeah, I can definitely hear him.
Oh, you can. So can I. AJ, you're good. You're in, man. You're good. You look. So we did the Buster Posey interview yesterday, and Buster was mostly great, but there was like probably 2 questions where he gave you like the Posey face, like, yo, we're not reliving, Hunter Strickland, Bryce Harper fight. You've got like a little bit of that mug going on right now.
Well, I'm reliving yesterday again, so you have to understand, 2 days in a row with plane problems and now tech problems. It gets a little bit annoying.
AJ, the real answer is I'm not there right now. Do you appreciate your on-site tech?
We need to hire a tech, a full-time tech to sit if you're not here, or we're both here, and that way you don't have to do it. So
yes,
we need to find somebody.
I enjoy doing it because it really helps my resume, so that I'm really versatile. It helps your resume
when the computers don't work or the mic doesn't work.
Yeah, because I know how to fix them. So if I'm not there and then there's a problem, it's just like I'll bring it to baseball. When a player gets hurt, if a team goes on a 10-2 run and it's like their star player, you're like, maybe he's not that important. And vice versa. Player gets hurt and the team falls apart. Your tech guy leaves. There's a problem.
Which is it? So which end of that spectrum are you on?
Right now, AJ is losing money. He's losing games without his tech guy, his right-hand man. So AJ, this was like weeks of AJ being like, I can't get Braun out of my house. I finally leave, and he wants me back.
I said I wanted a tech guy back.
But I am the tech guy.
I wanted a tech guy.
I am the tech guy.
Well, I'm glad to have you, AJ. You look great.
Thanks.
You look happy. Happy birthday to your wife.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, happy birthday, honey.
Give the shout out. Now's the time because we got Yelich coming up in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, happy birthday, Lisa. I know you're in Chicago. I'm in Florida. Maybe she could be the tech person. I don't know. But yeah, happy birthday. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
I know how to cheer you up too. And yes, happy birthday. We appreciate you a ton. Thank you for giving us more AJ on a daily basis. We appreciate that a ton as well. Hope you have an awesome day. I'm sure the weather's beautiful down there for after this show. Here, I know how to cheer you up, AJ. We didn't get to talk about this yet, and being that you're not on tomorrow, we have Frazier. Figured the day to hit this was more when you were on. We did run a poll on Twitter, and it got a lot of play, 4-figure play, on who threw the better first pitch. And final results were 58% Brzezinski, 42% Frazier. Do you feel better now? Did I raise your spirits a few points today?
There was never a doubt who was going to win. Like I said in my response to Frazier, fire, heat wins over lollipops every time. So anyone could lollipop it in there and say, "Oh, well, I threw it, a couple inches high." But I mean, I fired mine in there so hard, Lance Lynn wasn't ready for it. He couldn't catch it. So it's a little bit of a different animal, but there was never a doubt. Listen, Frazier played for the Reds. He played for the White Sox. He played for a lot of teams. But listen, there's nobody that has someone's back like White Sox fans have my back. So to them, thank you, White Sox fans. We did it. Frazier, you can go kick rocks down the street again. I'll expect my present.
Yeah, Midwest, it's so nice. I mean, hey, our next guest knows all about it. Some of the best fans on the planet. I truly mean that. I mean, they're tailgating for baseball games in the cold, too. Let's bring in Milwaukee Brewers superstar Christian Yelich joining us on Foul Territory right now. Christian, great to have you, and a gorgeous background there, too. Where are you right now? Are you in Milwaukee or are you somewhere on the road?
No, I'm in my place in Milwaukee.
Nice. I love it. I love the
Not
Florida
bad
Seals.
spot. It's got the lake out there and all that, so good setup.
You're
beautiful.
bad.
I love it. How you been? How's the season going so far in the first week?
Been all good. Season's been good for us. I think we've gotten off to a pretty good start. Got a lot of really talented young players that have kind of meshed really well with some of the more veteran guys that we've had around on the team. So it's only 6 games. 6 games, but we got a long way to go. But some encouraging signs, and it's been a really fun team to be a part of.
Where do you have your camera? On the lower floor? I mean, we're looking straight up your nose, but Yelly, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, but he still looks.
I know, man. I got like a little table here. There's not really too good of a spot.
We're trying to do our best. You're not set up in the studio, but no, your spot. If you're in the building, I think you're in. Your spot's pretty show. I know how you do it. I appreciate you waking up this early for us on an off day, right?
Yeah, we got an off day, which is nice. I get up early now, man. I'm kind of an early riser. It's changed up a little bit.
What? Are you getting into some yoga, some breakfast? Like you used to never wake up because Chipotle didn't have breakfast food. That's why you never woke up.
The Chipotle thing is like, it might be one of the more overplayed things like about me. Like, yeah, I go there all the time. I think every baseball player has had Chipotle a few times in their life, but I think me and JT were talking about it where there's like this thing floating around where we went like 140 days in a row or something like that, which I don't know where that came from or how that got started, but we won a lot in the minor leagues, but I don't think any sane person would go 142 days in a row or whatever that was. That's out there. Like the Brewers like to throw that on the scoreboard for whatever reason. So whoever runs our scoreboard, fact correction. You're wrong. But
yeah. What do you get up and do now? Like what is this new change? I saw you put videos out of yourself working out in the parking lot. Like, that's nice.
Yeah. I just gotta just get up and enjoy the mornings, man. I think you get so caught up in just baseball, 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 baseball all the time, and I don't think that's healthy. It doesn't benefit anybody. Obviously it's a big part of your life. It's something that you need to take seriously, but you need a good balance. So for me, I just enjoy the mornings, kind of take my time, and then once you go to the stadium, you go to the stadium and you lock it in. But yeah, it's been good, man. The last few years, kind of gotten into that routine and trying to stick with it.
Yelly, what's the deal with you guys opening up so hot? You guys just spanked the Mets for 3 games. I mean, talk to me about ownership of the Mets with all their payroll, your young guys going deep, Mitchell, Weimer, these guys. I mean, talk to me about this team and what y'all just did to the Mets.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Mets are a super talented team, and anything can happen in a 3-game series. We obviously played really well. You guys played a really long time. When you get an influx of young players, they bring a ton of energy. They play extremely hard, and it raises the level of the guys that have been around. And with the young players, there's gonna be hot stretches, there's gonna be cold stretches, there's gonna be ups and downs. But the ones that we have are really talented. They're really good kids, play the game the right way, and are obviously extremely talented. So there's gonna be periods where we catch fire like that. And I think the biggest thing that they've added to us is like we're multi-dimensional now. We don't have to rely on the home run. We can do it still, but there's a speed aspect to our team, and especially with the new rules, we can score in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of pressure on the other team, and it's been fun to be a part of so far.
Are you going to steal bases? You going to start stealing some bases?
We're gonna try.
Again? Like the old Marlins days? We're going to go back to the old Christian Yelich, no power, let's steal bases, slap some singles to left, or what?
We might have to start. We might have to start doing that. Yeah, I ran a little bit more last year. I don't know if I did a lot in 21 or not, but 18 and 19, I ran a lot too. Some of the times in the Marlins days, I had the hard red light because I was hitting in front of old John Carlo down there, and Donnie was like, "You stay your ass at first base and wait till it hits one through the windows back there." So I had times with the Marlins when I could run freely, and then there was other times depending on where I was hitting where it was like, "Hey, if you think about running, don't," and just kind of wait for him to hit a ball 700 feet, and you can kind of just jog around the bases, but. I think with the new rules, like it is a really big advantage to have guys that can run or to be able to run because it's such a huge difference with the 2 pickoffs or 2 times stepping off the rubber. Like it puts the pitchers in a bind, and especially with the clock too. Like they have a lot going on. They have to hold a guy, they have to get a sign, they have to think about executing a pitch. So. It's been an adjustment period for everybody. I obviously think the rule changes are a positive, but there's definitely a learning curve there.
Do you think 4.5 inches is a lot?
It depends. It
helps if you're stealing bases.
Tell them what you're talking about. You can't just throw that out there like every player knows.
That's what we discussed. Oh, I know Yelly watches all of Foul Territory. He hasn't missed an episode yet.
Todd Frazier said that 4.5 inches is, as he would say, huge. It's huge. 4.5 inches.
The bigger bases.
Yeah, but he's talking about the bases, but he keeps saying it over and over again. So if you ever see us go like this, we're talking about Todd Frazier and his 4.5 inches.
Okay. It's good to know. I got caught up. My first Foul Territory experience.
Now you don't need to watch quite as many anymore. I want to talk about the young guys. When we played together with Milwaukee, we had the tradition, somebody gets their first hit or first win, you take them into the shower, beer shower, shampoo, milk, orange juice, whatever, is available. Are you guys still doing that? And if you are, with all the young guys, are you just constantly going to the shower and just beer showering everybody after every game? Because there's always a rookie doing something for a first time.
The beer shower is still around, but Wade Miley bought like this huge box of Ace of Spades champagne. So we've been passing those out to the guys after the game. Wade actually got a bottle himself the other day we got him a bottle of whiskey for his 100th win in the big leagues. Something we kind of do post game, just we've had a lot of post game speeches congratulating guys on first or longevity milestones, like the 100th win. And it's fun to be a part of it. It just creates that team chemistry, that bonding that you're going to need throughout the year. And there's obviously been a lot of firsts for these guys. Their first hit, first homers. We've had guys with first strikeouts, first win in the league. So a lot of firsts. It's fun to be a part of. And the beer shower is still around in Milwaukee every now and then.
Also, the cheeseheads are a big deal now. I just give credit to the sport in general for the home run celebrations that have become, I guess, more amplified across the sport. And of course, that's a great shot of Rowdy to kick it off with Pratzy saying actually the other day. Yeah, everyone else, it looks good. I don't know if that thing's going to fit around Rowdy's big ass head, but where did that come about? How's that going?
I don't know how I think Willie might have had the cheesehead somehow. I don't know how it exactly got started. I think it was floating around in spring training somewhere, and then I didn't know about it until the other day when somebody hit our first homer. We went a few games without hitting a homer, and then somebody hit their first one, and out came the cheesehead. But I kind of liked it, especially on Big Randy. It's a good look for him.
Christian, you got to get the cheesehead, dude. Let's go. No more stealing bases. I need you to go
I
deep.
know, dude. I need you to
get the squat and then the uncoil, and let's go. Hit one up there off the Toyota truck in right center.
I know. I've kind of lost the feel for that thing. We need to get it back a little bit. It was flowing pretty good there for a while, and then kind of just, you know how baseball goes, man. You kind of just lose feel for things, and it's a constant battle to kind of try and get it back. And
how do you think you can get it back?
Yeah,
What is there a drill you do? Is there something you do to get it back? Is there something you talk to or a feel you need? What is it?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Well, because you went from, again, I was joking with you about kind of being you'd slap at the left when you were with the Marlins, and you go to the Brewers and the power goes through the roof, right? And now it's kind of, you're saying you've lost that feel again. So is it just a feel thing? There was always a drill where I would say, okay, we go flip on the field, and I'd find the backspin. I'd see balls going out of the park. And then mentally you're like, okay, I got it again. So I don't know if there's a drill you do. I don't know if there's a feeling you're looking for in the cage. Go to the hitting coach and say, hey, slap me upside the head, whatever it takes to get mad. I mean, there's got to be something that you do to get that feeling back.
Yeah, I mean, obviously made some adjustments when I came over to Milwaukee. Kind of just evolved throughout that year, learned myself as a player a little bit more, learned what I wanted to do and what I was doing. I was successful, and it was kind of this natural progression and flowing, and my body was working correctly, like sequencing how I wanted it to. And then now it's kind of gotten a little inconsistent and a little squirrely to where it'll be there for a game or two, and then it kind of goes away, and it's just this you know how it is, this frustrating just back and forth of just trying to get something to stick. And I haven't been moving the way that I've wanted to in the last few years. Just some bad habits, some bad sequencing patterns that I haven't really been able to shake, and it's obviously been very frustrating. It's been one of those things where you're just like, why won't your body do this? But you just keep battling, keep working, keep trying to do new things in the cage, tinker with it, and that's the thing about baseball. It's just a constant battle every day, and you got to do everything you can to put yourself in a position to succeed. And if it doesn't work that night, kind of back to the drawing board and keep figuring it out. But that's kind of what I've been battling with the last few years. Just gotten some bad habits and just really wasn't able to shake them and be as consistent as I would have liked. It shows up every now and then, but not as consistently as it was. Which I still believe it's still in there, and you just got to go find it.
Go to Chipotle. Every day. Start going to Chipotle every day. Hey, try anything as a baseball player. We'll try anything. If you go to a place and you hit a homer, you're going back the next day. Let's go.
Definitely. You know how it is.
Yeah. I don't want to talk too much baseball because it's your off day, but I always told people, because when I came over to Milwaukee, that's when you took off and you really did well, and you were sad when I left. So that's probably what it was. And so, I'll make a trip out to the MKE. We'll hang out and all that stuff. I tell the story, and maybe I don't remember this correctly. Do you remember the home run Big Woo hit in Pittsburgh into the bleachers in right field? Do you remember that back in 2018? Vaguely, not?
Yeah, I remember him doing that.
Okay. I remember you going in and watching his home run and going, he kind of does some nice stuff. And you stood up and you were watching, you were like looking at it and you were looking at it, and then you went off. You hit like 900 for the rest of the season. So I always told people the biggest change was you watch Big Woo hit a home run and you're like, well, Big Woo hits a homer. I'm going to do what Big Woo does. So really, Big Woo fixed you.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, he
No,
has a good
that's
swing
true.
No.
especially for a pitcher. He's got a pretty good swing.
Right?
And then everybody kind of started figuring out that he could hit, and then that was the end of that for him. And he started getting pitched like a regular hitter. But he got people for a little while when they were just kind of coming after him. But being around him, he loves hitting. Like, he still always has a bat in his hand. He wants to talk about it. One of my favorite teammates I've ever played with. He's an absolute gangster on the mound, and he hit some pretty special homers. I mean, he really did. He hit quite a few of them, and I always kind of like doing that though. Like, not just from him, but other players. Like, you can kind of like look at them, see what they did, and be like, I kind of like that, and then take it into the cage and be able to do that. And just. You kind of take things from everybody that you see as a player, and you're always kind of tinkering and trying to change things. You never know when something's going to click. Guys are what they are until they make an adjustment or something, the light bulb goes on, and then it can change their entire career. For either a hitter or a pitcher plays with a new pitch, and it can completely change them. So I think that's one of the cool things about baseball is, like, you never know what you can be or what's going to happen. You just got to keep trying to make adjustments and find a way to be as successful as you can.
Yelly, I'm going to go back to back here. One baseball and then one fun non-baseball that I know you'll like. So first, baseball-wise, did you watch World Baseball Classic? And now if you come across a Mookie or a Trout or any of the other superstars that you're friends with, are you like, yeah, we won in 2017, man. How'd you guys do?
I mean, no, because I think they played really well. And the thing that's really hard about that tournament is, it's a playoff atmosphere with like 1-game elimination games for a while. I think you have to play like four of them, where it's win or go home, right? So in baseball, anything can happen. You're obviously playing against really talented teams. So a lot has to go right for you to win that. You have to have a talented team, and then you just have to be on the side of where you get the bounces or things kind of go your way in order to win that tournament. But it was a ton of fun. I really, really enjoyed playing the WBC. Those games they're pressure packed. The atmosphere is incredible. Obviously, we ended up winning back in 2017, which is an amazing experience. It was really my first kind of taste of what a playoff atmosphere would kind of be like, because I hadn't gotten to experience that yet at that time. And, I think it opens your eyes. You go into the tournament being like, you understand like what you think you're getting into. And then once it starts, you're like, you have no idea what you just got into. You're like, wow, this is like really intense. The passion and the pride takes over. You don't want to lose. And you get to play with guys for an extended period of time. You go to an all-star game and you get to interact with these guys for 2 days, really, but it's so busy and there's so much stuff going on that you don't really get to know them. And in that setting, it's like you're on a team with basically a bunch of all-stars for 2 weeks, and you're going to dinners. There's plane rides. You get to compete without the I don't want to say distractions of an all-star game, because it's not the right word, but there's just so much going on, right? Like, there's the game, there's the home run derby, there's all the stuff you got to do before, there's speeches, there's media, you got to sign balls and stuff like that, and in that you got to play and talk to these some of the best players in the game for 2 weeks. I thought that was one of the coolest things about the WBC, and something that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, we should clip that to show for some players. Like, this is different from going to an all-star game, the way that you get to hang out with everyone. I'm with you there. All right, let me do the non-baseball for you, because I haven't seen this get a ton of coverage since I read about it initially. I just want to make sure this is still a thing. Guitar. Are you playing? Because you picked it up, right? During COVID at one point, during the pandemic? Did you do a little guitar action?
Kind of. I mean, it was hit or miss. There's been a lot of miss on that lately. It just kind of fell by the wayside. But when I got COVID in 2021, I was like locked in. I was locked in here for literally 10 days. Like, I couldn't. They wouldn't let you leave, obviously. And So I didn't leave like my front door for 10 days. I was like, what am I going to do for 10 days? Like I watched a bunch of shows and then I was like, screw it. I just went on Amazon Prime and ordered a guitar. And actually I got okay. Like I kind of got the basics down in 10 days. 'Cause I literally had 10 days with nothing to do but that. Like my fingers were killing me and everything. By the time I came back to play, like my hands were hurting and stuff. So I need to knock this off. But it was fun. It's something that I would really like to do at some point. I think it's like kind of a good outlet from baseball or something that when like you come home after games or whatever, it's a good way to like decompress and kind of get your mind off the game.
We so in 18, Yelly and I were talking about during the playoffs, and the other guys were talking about like because we watched the Capitals. I think did the Capitals win the Stanley Cup, or who won the Stanley Cup?
I'm not sure in 18.
Anyway, no, yeah. Anyway, well, they were going around and they were binging everywhere. We were talking about going out and having a crazy party when we won the World Series in 18. We didn't. We fell short. But during that time, we talked about, your MVP party that you were going to have because you were clearly going to win the MVP party that I didn't get an invite to. So whose party was better, yours or Big G's?
I don't know. I mean, I went on a pretty good bender after that. I'm not gonna lie. It was like 3 or 4 days of just we went out like every night with me and my buddies from back home, and it was at Bronny's birthday too. So one of the nights it was that Baker had his bye week and he was out in LA for that, so we went out for that too. And I remember like the last night of that, I was like, I need to chill. Like I can't do this another night. I'm not gonna make it. So, it's one of those things where it's a once in a lifetime type deal most of the time. I mean, it almost was a twice in a lifetime type deal the following year, but it's something that I think you need to enjoy. When you have success in this game, it's so hard on you. Like I think when you have good moments and you have good things, you need to enjoy them. You can't rest on them, obviously, but in the moment, you need to enjoy it a lot when you're playing baseball. Like just enjoy the success that you have in a game that doesn't bring you a lot of success, and celebrate the good times. And I had a lot of people around me that had helped me out throughout my entire life, and it was something that we all kind of celebrated together, and it was a good one. I went to G's the year before. I think he had Snoop Dogg at his, which he must have been busy because he didn't attend mine. But he had Snoop out there with his parents, everybody in the club in a club in Hollywood. It was a pretty good time, man. I enjoyed it, and we had a lot of fun.
That is awesome.
Yep.
By the way, you're talking about the 2018 Capitals, and that's when Ovechkin was in like I think it's the fountain there, Georgetown waterfront or whatever. Remember that? And he's like shirt off, swimming, whatever. So Kratzy, like if the Brewers win the World Series at some point, maybe Yelly can do an Ovechkin impression. Or for baseball, I think it was Napoli. Remember Napoli was like just rolling around the streets when Boston won? Something like that, partying with the people.
Yeah. You have to.
Yelly, I love what you said, though, about enjoying it. Because I know I look back on my career and I say, man, there's some times I wish I would have enjoyed it more. And you look around, you say, that happened so fast that you don't even realize what's going on until you almost have to watch the playback of it and say, man, that really happened in the game. Are those moments still happening? Or as you get, because when I got older, I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to enjoy this more. I'm going to go out more in the cities, see the cities more. Do you do that now that you've gotten older? Or you're up early now. You used to sleep all day, like Pratt said. So obviously you're enjoying it. Do you go out on the road and say, hey, I'm going to go, say you're in LA. I know you're from around there, but do you say, or let's go like Kansas City, I'm going to go walk around the fountains and see the plaza? Or has anything changed for you?
Yeah, you make more of a conscious effort to do that, I think. It's like you said, man, when you're in the middle of it, it's something that you kind of you keep the blinders on, because I think as baseball players, like you understand how hard the game is and how quick it can change on you. So you never want to, like, when you're going well, you never want to like let the success kind of get to your head and think like, oh, everything's all good. Like you're constantly on edge of like, today could be the start of disaster. So I need to lock it in and make sure that I don't have any bad habits or nothing's going bad. Like I need to be super focused here. And it's a good thing and a bad thing because, like you said, you don't really enjoy those moments until they're over, and then you're like, oh shit, I wish I would have enjoyed this a little bit more, or kind of taking a step back and look around. And I've found myself doing that over the last few years, and being considered one of the older guys it's kind of weird because I don't feel that way. Like I don't feel like I'm one of the older guys, but I really am. Especially with the young guys that we've had come up, and you kind of get to see yourself in them a little bit of when like the big leagues was new and when it was fresh. And like, I played you when I was a really young player, and when you were with the Braves, we played each other all the time. And just watching guys get their feet wet in the league and just have all those firsts and those new experiences, and like every day is opening day for you because it's all new. Every stadium's new, every hotel, and it's fun to watch, and it energizes you. And I think that for the rest of the time that I have playing, it's a conscious effort to kind of step back and be like, wow, this is cool. Like this is Major League Baseball, and it's something that you don't get to do forever. It's something that you've worked your entire life to get to that point, and you continue to work hard every day, but eventually, like you said, it's going to come to an end. So you want to enjoy the experience and the moments as much as you can. And, it kind of brings you a little bit more like joy and purpose, and you're not so focused on yourself all the time when you kind of help these young guys through the league for their first time, through the ups and the downs and what to expect and what's going to happen. And what happens when you struggle, what happens when you succeed, how to deal with, friends and family and the asks and everything that come along with being a major league player. And it's kind of fun to evolve into kind of that part of your career, but at the same time feels extremely weird because I still kind of feel like I'm like them, but I'm not. Does that make sense?
Well, just wait until you get to you're like 39 like I was, and we were with the Braves and we were terrible, and our whole team was 22 years old. Then you really want to feel like an old person. That's when you feel like, Freddie Freeman was like our next oldest guy, and he was like 26. And he's talking about, trying to find, he wasn't even married yet to Chelsea. And we're like, wait a minute, what is happening here? I'm 39, my kid's 10 running around the clubhouse, and they're making fun of me how old I am. So it gets better. It gets worse, but better. Where's your MVP trophy?
Where is it at? It's at my mom's house in California right now. I'm building a house, so whenever that's finished, it'll end up going there. But right now, all that stuff's there, just because I didn't really have any other place to put it. So it's kind of just hanging out.
I feel like it should be like a boombox. You should have it. Like if you want one of those things, you have it like on your arm.
It's on a stand. It's on a stand on like a table. Like you can kind of like where you would put like a plate. It has like the two things and the one on the back, where you can kind of like lean it up against it. That's where the trophy is. I think it's supposed to hang on a wall.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: if the young guys get snappy, they get snappy with you. You just walk up and you just hold this thing up and you say, "Hey guys, look, I got one of these, and one of y'all get one of these. You guys are allowed to talk to me. Otherwise, watch how we do it in the big leagues."
Yeah, it's like I know you guys were all in high school when this happened, but
oh, exactly.
Amazing. Hey, Yali, we really appreciate you joining us. Hope you enjoyed the chill conversations here that we're doing every day live on this show with all the players. So thanks for hopping on during the off day. It looks like it's a freaking gorgeous day out there. So enjoy some sunshine today, man.
Yeah, finally got some sunshine. It was good catching up with you guys. And I know it's been a minute for all of us, but I appreciate you guys having me on. It was good chatting, and I'm sure we'll do it again soon at some point.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Yeah, Kratzy, say goodbye to your boy. Later.
Kratzy, later, buddy. AJ, see you. Gotti, see ya.
Later. Christian Yelich, Milwaukee Brewers star. That was awesome. Really cool. And just able to kind of have a chill off day conversation. Like it's even different too. Do you ever feel this too when it's an off day and you get to, for you guys, I'm just asking because I don't have the experience. You have like a different tone because you're kind of like, you're so hyped up for games, and then you have that day off and you're just kind of, relaxing a little bit, enjoy some sunshine. So like you kind of talk differently. Does that make sense?
Well, much props to him coming on an off day, because when it was an off day, there was no interviews or radios or.
Yeah. Well, we do that though all the time.
There wasn't podcasts back then, so.
True.
But yeah, listen, when you got an off day, I'm relaxing. I ain't doing nothing. Don't call me. Don't bother me. Don't ask me to do nothing. Team, this is my day. And the other the other 162 days you got me, but for these we got like 18 off days. You were like, listen, these are my days. Don't bother me.
Yeah, but you're different, AJ. So some people are the reverse. This is just how we're scheduling people, right? So you do that because you'll crush it on a game day, and you're catching too. So you've got a lot going on, but you were always great with this. You would do the interviews. Some guys are like, pitching's easy if you're a starter because they can just pick a day where they're not starting, of course. But even for some position players where they're like, oh, let's talk on my off days. We've had some of the guys that we're scheduling throughout this show are like, hey, here's some of my off days. This is when I want to do it. That's when they feel more comfortable. Maybe they're so routine oriented or worried about, what the schedule is, especially some of the younger guys, so there is a difference there. I get both styles.
Yeah, I do too. And you do it however we can get you on foul territory. If it's an off day, as long as it's not a weekend, then I'm okay with it. But
fair.
Yeah, I mean, we've done some taped interviews where guys wanted to do it later or earlier. So yeah, it's fine. Just come on and we'll have a good time. We didn't even get to discuss. I know his Marlins teams. Think about those teams they had with the Marlins. They had Yelich,
stacked.
Stanton, Ozuna, D. Gordon was there, Fernandez before he passed away, Real Muto. I mean, those teams were really stupidly good, and they didn't win anything.
And their fans were pissed because they didn't do anything around him. And then once the guys got expensive, they got rid of them. And honestly, not a ton has changed there yet, where there's some good prospects that come through, but you need to supplement it. Everyone knows
They had signed Jose Reyes.
For 5 minutes. And then they shipped him to Toronto, where he went from no state income tax to take most of my money, please. And he voiced it. He was pissed.
All of it. Yeah, no doubt. And they had, I was going to talk about the off days. I felt like my career, like minor leagues to the big leagues, my off days changed. And then also with kids, like before when it was like just my wife and I, off days were like, oh, hey, let's get up and do something. Let's go and see this. Or, hey, we're in New Hampshire. Let's go up to Mount Washington and, something like that. Once we had kids, it was like off day. Oh, please hope the kids sleep in. We need to sleep. Like, do not. So I think it evolves too. But having Yelich wake up early in the morning, I love hearing that. That guy, he's an old soul now.
Yeah, he's a wise man. He feels old in the clubhouse. It's also not late. You were like, what are you doing up? It was like 1 o'clock there when we were talking to him just now. I mean, it was 2 o'clock, I think, when we started the interview, in that range. Like, it's 1 o'clock. You sleep until 1? Sometimes.
Get some sleep. You pull those shades. I'm sure his spot's got some blackout shades. Those things come down, and you just, your alarm clock goes off at 1:30, just in time for a late lunch.
True. All right, ready? We got a lot to do here for the last 30 minutes of FT. Some fun social stuff to run through, which will create some interesting debate. Stay tuned. But first off, real quick, let's run through our BetMGM locks. First, let's recap. Wednesday, and for the podcast audio crowd, Kratzy went Toronto run line. They covered, beat the Royals, got the job done. Manoah got the job done. Cleveland money line for Frage. He's not here, so I was watching that one for him, kind of both of us sweating it out. I mean, I didn't tell him, but still, Aguilar at one point, I think he tied the game with, it was like an 11-pitch AB and a homer. Oakland's playing some teams tough, but Cleveland scores 2 in the 10th. And Steven Kwan is a machine. I mean, he has like 6 or 7 hits in the series, 8 RBIs on the year. Anyway, I'm undefeated. Angels win. I took a little bit of a heavier laydown here for this game and was thinking about going first 5, but it was real because I don't like the Angels bullpen at all. But it was like almost minus 200. I was like, no, I'm not that crazy. But went minus 155, and then AJ got work to do, bud.
By the way, you just said Manoah got the job done. Manoah did not get the job done. He only had 5 strikeouts, 5.5. Come on, it was only 5.5. So he did not
have a feeling that was going to happen.
He threw well, but I mean, Scotty, would you say you're the Rays? Are you the Rays of the FT betting crew here? Like I'm
the Rays because I'm undefeated, but I'm not the Rays because I'm facing easy opponents every night. Like I'm not throwing down bets for like minus 250 or whatever. And this is why we keep track of the money. Because, yes, you and me are in pretty much the same range. And here's the money bags right now. And AJ will pick it back up. No big deal. And, hey, you can there's almost no rules in terms of how much you want to throw down. Frage got back on the plus side. I know what you're saying, Kratzy, but you had those early like 200 plus bets to get a lead, and I'm trying to be a man of the people, where I'm like, you got about $100 to spend each night. Join me, and let's ride through this thing together and see if we can finish the season in a positive range. So yes, I am the Rays at the moment, and I feel a ton of pressure. I really do. This is the first day where I felt a lot of pressure, and Claudia, our producer, was all over me. She's like, yo, are you going to send me the pick? Hello? And I'm like, I want to do more homework. I'm nervous. So
wait, if Scott's the Rays, then I must be like the Nats. Or the A's. I mean, either one. You pick which one you want to call me.
Or maybe you're the Phillies. Yeah,
yeah, a little bounce back coming.
Yeah, here we go. Going all the way to the World Series.
All right, so this is what we're going to do each day. We'll swing it around, and we'll just go in order so we can clip it off too and tell everyone what to do on social. So we'll do, it's like, a minute or two tops with the whole crew. Well, let's do this order, and you can go right off of him, Kratzy. AJ, then you, and then I'll bat third, being that all the pressure's on me. Your BetMGM lock of the day is?
My lock of the day is, I honestly forgot what my lock of the day is because I had so much technical problems, and I was going to take Atlanta. That's right. Thank you, Claudia, because I remember I wrote her. I said my lock of the day is Atlanta. -1.5 because Spencer Strider. I'm going 200 because I got to start catching up, but I'm taking the -1.5 because Spencer Strider is going to be throwing those 4-seam invisibles, that breaking ball. It's their big day, home opener in Atlanta. I know they swept the Cardinals, but I feel like that offense is going to come out in Atlanta big tonight. And Spencer Strider, phew!
So 200 to win 250, which would be a big catch-up. Atlanta run line. It's +125. Kratzy, you're taking a plus play too, right?
Oh, yeah, I love the plus plays. I love when the lines are put, I wonder why they're giving me so much here. Then you delve into a little bit, but I'm going to take the Rockies at -1.5 at 120, +120. I actually thought last night when I was looking this stuff up, the over was intriguing to me because it was at 10.5, and I went to give the first lock parlay of the FT Live season, and I went to check the over, and the over pushed to 11, and I got scared. I don't know why I got scared by half a run, but I did. But I love the Rockies right here up against the Nats, and see if they can push a bunch of runs across.
Yeah, it's Kyle Freeland going up against Josiah Gray, and Gray had a rough first outing there. So you're going run line, and then I'm going minus, but it's just -120 on this Padres-Braves game. I feel really good about it. The only problem I had was it looks like there's some rain in the forecast, which could screw around with the over I'm going with. I'm going over 8 runs, and it looked like it was moving too from 7.5. So I think there's others anticipating that this could be a high-scoring affair. Blake Snell didn't look good first start. He's on the road, usually a problem for him. Spencer Strider's great, but I could also see the Padres offense a little lit up from yesterday's game. Yeah, I could see this being, something along the lines of like
as long as it's like 7-3 Braves, 10-2 Braves, whatever.
Yeah,
as long as
I could do a little 6-4 Atlanta to please all parties here. So 120 to win 100, stay hot. That's what I'm banking on here. 2 good offenses in my mind. Braves will take their walks. They'll bash homers. I think they're really going to get to Snell. I could see both sides getting some offense against the bullpens. And lastly, if the rain does cooperate at least to an extent to get the game playing, mid-70s first pitch, ideal weather to smash the baseball, and the ball's been flying in most parks. Sign me up. Those are your locks of the day. So MLB bet $10 to win $200 is still running wild. As you can see, here's how to get involved. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into your newly created account. Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android. You can place a pregame moneyline wager of at least $10 on any MLB team at standard odds price. You receive $200 in bonus bets instantly after you do that. Bonus code SPICYBALL200. There it is. You see it right there, promo code. So I don't have to spell it out anymore. SPICYBALL200. Always bet responsibly. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Ready for social stuff? I don't have a name for this segment yet, but I think we're going to start out real spicy with the first thing I'm going to throw at you from the Sacramento River Cats. So this is Cade McClure, right?
Yeah.
That hit this homer?
No.
I mean, he gave up this homer? Sorry. against Tatis, because Tatis is playing his rehab games right now. Or not his rehab games, his, what do you call it? Like my minor league games. So before I get back in there from the suspension, he's not hurt. He's still got prime form on his celebration.
He's rehabbing his character flaws.
That's a nice way to put it.
All right, so there was a tweet showing the homer, and then Cade McClure, who gave up the homer, sent this tweet out. Star, cheater hits a home run on a rehab assignment during a steroid suspension. Wow, shots fired.
Well, you didn't show the tweet before that, Scotty, that said, hey, Cade McClure will never forget he can always tell his grandkids he gave up a home run to Fernando Tatis, and then he fired back with the cheater hits a home run, I'll be on a steroid suspension. Well, listen, Cade, good for you, man, because people forget this stuff. We kind of talked about this a little bit before, Erik. But, man, listen, I don't understand why, guys, if you're suspended for that long, you should have to start your rehab to get ready after the suspension. I've had this argument with the union before, and I don't understand. Why can he play in all these games? He's suspended just because he's playing in AAA? That's the same thing. Like, make these guys sit out their suspension, and then they have to come back and not be ready. It costs their team even more. And I understand they're going to say, well, you can't control that or whatever. But, yeah, you can. Suspend them the full, whatever the suspension is, and then make them start the rehab assignment, because then that's just even more of an incentive to not be a cheater.
I never even really thought about that, like not letting them start the rehab, not giving them that advantage. I like that. I've thought for years of things that are more long lasting than the 80 games. I mean, some guys come back from 80 games and they're like, I'm fresh. Like, I haven't played for 80 days, so I'm fresh. I know I hurt my pay scale because I didn't, play for those days. I hurt my team. But my biggest issue is not coming back or not, the lack of apology, the lack of being like, hey, you know what? I made the mistake. Some guys have done it, and the guys that have said that, I feel like really show a lot of fans, hey, you know what? I did make a mistake. Or, hey, this was a bad test. It's okay. Like, if you really didn't do it, like, come out and say, I really didn't do it, and there's a reason. And then the MLB needs to step in. There's so much involved in this. And some people are going to say, like, oh, okay, McClure, don't be so pissy because you gave up a home run. Like, there is always that in the background. And if you make choices like this, in my opinion, Cade McClure can say exactly what he said. And he's not out of line at all. And I think the biggest culprit not the biggest culprit because he was the one that did it, is the teams need to have some type of ramification, because there's plenty of guys that, AJ, you've played with, that I've played against, that I've played with, that had this happen, came back, did well, and still got a contract. And the teams are never, there's no ramifications for the teams in any situation, because the players, they're like, oh, this is just a player problem. It's also a team thing too. Like, there needs to be more accountability in this stuff. And I'm not talking about a lifetime ban, because if you come out and you apologize, I am all about forgiveness. Like, if you ask for forgiveness, to me, you should get it, no matter what it is. But so many times it's like, oh, he's served his time or whatever. Like, show some forgiveness, show something, because he cheated. He cheated his teammates, and he cheated the game that a lot of us work really hard to try to do well in.
Here's the thing for me, Kratzy, and I agree with what you said. These guys, they get popped on, what's Tatis on, $300 and something $million contract, whatever it is, 200 something million, whatever crazy number it is. He misses 80 games. His deal is still going to give him 300 of that 360. I forget the exact number, whatever the number is, but he's not losing that much by missing those 80 games. So he does the drugs, and then he gets the rest of his contract. I mean, that's what as a former player, that's what gets me. And I was in the middle of the steroid stuff. I came up when it was going on. and I lived through the Mitchell report, and I lived through the testing and all that stuff, and how the game changed. But there's still people doing it, and we're still catching them. And you shouldn't be able to do it and then still get the rest of your contract. I know they can't void contracts, and that'll cause a whole nother issue. But there's got to be more of a penalty for what happens than just the 80 games, because you still get to keep your contract, you still get to do all the things. So some guys look at it like, man, if I lose 80 games, but yet I get a $300 million contract, I lose $5 million. What's the big deal? I still get 295 of it, and that's what bothers me. I'll never forget, we were in Toronto in 2015. And Johnny Gomes was on our team. We had a lefty that came in from the Marlins, and he was came in like the last 2 days. We had a guy named Brady Feigl who was going to make the team, and he didn't make the team because we brought in this lefty. I think his name was Andrew McCarrahan or something like that. And he pitched, and we win a game in Toronto, and everyone's all excited. And we're like, McCarrahan, whatever his name is, has to talk to us. And we're like, what the heck is this about? And he's like, guys, I just want you all to know I'm suspended for steroids. My arm was dead in spring training, and I rubbed some cream on it, and that's what I got caught for. And Johnny Gomes looks at him, and we're all standing around like, this is kind of weird. And Johnny Gomes looks at him and goes, well, okay, next. And everybody just turned around and walked away. He didn't apologize. He didn't say, I'm sorry. He just said, well, this happened because I had a dead arm, and I rubbed some cream on it, and I felt better. And Johnny Gomes had the perfect response. He's just like, okay, next. And everybody just turned and walked away. There was no like, we feel sorry for you, we feel bad for you, because he wasn't sorry for it. There was no apology, like you said, Kratz. There was no, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. He just said, I got caught for this, and I don't know what I was thinking, and I shouldn't have done it. But there was never like, I'm sorry, guys. And then poor Brady Feigl was a left-handed pitcher when he made our team. He goes down to AAA, and in the second game blows his arm out. So instead of getting a full year on the big league DL, he's stuck down in AAA, not getting any service time. So there's all kinds of consequences to these actions.
For sure. And it's not just a singular, it's not just Fernando Tatis. You know, we're talking about him right now. There was the whole biogenesis thing where guys got caught because of a paper trail. I talked to one of the guys that I played with that got caught on the paper trail. He said he took 3 or 4 tests, he didn't remember, during that time and never got caught. And he was like, the amount of money I put out for what I could do to set up my family way outweighed on either side. You know, it was so easy. He said it wasn't even a tough decision for him. And on the owners / even some of the union, you know, I get it, the union's supposed to be, you know, only pro player, but I think we should be pro game, because I think that grows everything. But you caught one anti-aging clinic, and all of a sudden we've eradicated steroids from the game. Like, you didn't catch anybody. You caught a paper trail. And how many other anti-aging clinics are there in America? And I feel like MLB is so much like reactive instead of proactive for this stuff that I've even sometimes been on the side of, let everybody take everything. At least it's an even playing field then.
True.
One more portion here, AJ. I mean, I don't know how deep you want to go into this, and I know you've talked about it before, but I mean, you were really in the thick of it, and you dealt with it when, I mean, the government basically had to step in and say, yo, you're going to create a massive issue. And this is where I try to explain it sometimes to friends, right? Like, you know, I'm in my mid-30s, and I'll have friends like, well, they should just let everyone do whatever they want and take roids and bash homers. It'd be so entertaining. I'm like, yeah. And then every kid in the country would be doing the same thing to try to make it to the bigs, and our country would be a mess from it. So, yeah, that government did start to step in, because it's a crime. So you were dealing with all that shit too as a player, as in seeing everything go around and the Mitchell report going on.
Yeah, I was in the heart of it. I mean, I remember coming up, and I didn't know anything about steroids, and then I heard some guys talking about it. I think the Arizona Fall League was the first time I ever heard guys talking about it. And then I've seen guys do it. I've heard guys talking about it. You never know, though, because some guys would say stuff, and some guys, it was a lot of whispers. You never really knew. Then the Mitchell report hit, and I remember the thing was, they said, oh, we can do testing, and we'll test you, and it'll be totally anonymous. Well, then all those names started leaking out. And I remember the White Sox. If you remember the White Sox in 04, we're all just going to not pee in a cup because we want us all to be positive, and that'll guarantee you that there's testing. And MLB stepped in and said, we can't do that. It'll mess up the testing. And there was a lot of guys saying, well, they can't do that because it'll mess up, whatever I'm doing. But it was just a weird time that it was unfortunate. But I wish there was a way to eradicate it and make the playing field even. And I'm not for everybody doing it, like you said, Scott, because that just causes more problems and it'll lead to worse things going on, because then somebody will find something else and it'll just keep going and going and going. So it was just a weird time in baseball. I wish it was over, but it'll never go away because the drugs are always ahead of the tests.
Yeah. And I would never be for like everybody just doing everything because of what you said, Scotty. Like there's like, you're a role model. I think as a role model, you make decisions that other people look up to. I remember how, and what AJ was saying about being completely unaware, like you'd hear whispers about it. And if it's a big deal in the in the big leagues, the minor leagues, it was like the Wild West, to the point where in 2008, a player left our team and I got called up to AAA, and he was like, hey dude, he's like, he went to go play in another country, went to go play in Korea or Japan. And he was an older player. And he goes, I want you to have our apartment. And I was like, wow, I'm making $2,100 a month. He goes, I want you to have our apartment. I know you have a kid. Our son Braden was 1 at the time. And he's like, the team's paying me back for the apartment. You owe me nothing. So I had a free apartment in AAA. Like, this was awesome. So we get up at 6 a.m. I move my son and my wife out of the hotel into this apartment. And she takes me to the field. I get on the bus. I'm on the bus. My wife goes and gets groceries and starts packing them in the refrigerator. And she calls me and she's like, babe, there is syringes in our refrigerator. She's like, what should I do? I don't want to touch them. And I was like, well, I'll just throw them away when you get home. When I get home, like just put them somewhere where Braden can't reach into the fridge and get them. And for me, this was 6 years into my career. I'd seen guys test positive. But this person was not somebody that I would have been like, oh yeah, he's definitely on them. And then I talked to other guys, and shows how naive I was. They were like, oh yeah, he would always take a cooler on the road with him, and he didn't have any snacks in the cooler. And this was 2008, so we were already quote stricter testing, and this was front and center to me, and I had no idea. I didn't see it at all.
That's crazy. There's a lot of that. There are a lot of stories like that. I'm glad, went longer than I thought we'd want to go there, but that's good on all on a reaction. And this describes, though, the angst, and where you do have, players that unify in some ways, but then in others, they're like, dude, we want an equal playing field. So screw you if you're cheating, right? And showing how you did get all over the map in terms of answers from people, like some being like, yeah, I did it. Some people like, yeah, I knew all about it, and I knew people doing it every left and right. And then some people like, I was like out of the loop on this whole situation going on. So anyway, all right, let's keep running through social stuff. Next up, this was my rant from yesterday. The line for the 99 Judge Burger at Yankee Stadium. Thanks, Talking Yanks. Holy shit. And the person at the back of that line had to be quizzed about how the game went. And he said, no idea. I missed all of it. But that Judge 99 burger is fire. What are we doing? That's just ridiculous.
We're bad is what we are.
You can't do that. And there's got to be a better way now. Because I'm not a long line guy, and I'm not being like bougie about it. But like if you look at a bar, and I'm not a big bar guy, but like you look at a line for a bar, I'm like, no thanks. No bar is cool enough that I'm chilling especially in New York City, in a line outside for freaking 40 minutes to get into a freaking bar. So same thing with food here. Like I'm not missing the ball game I'm paying good money for to get a hamburger. I'm sorry. And the answer, correct. The answer is not, well, just don't eat. No, the answer is $15 billion industry. Get the people their damn food because they don't want to miss the game and you don't want to miss out on the money. It's a very simple concept here. We need to figure this out stat. There is definitely a way to figure this out. What are the most popular foods? Okay, let's make sure that we have some type of delivery or some type of vendor, like Frage said the other day, handing out that food regularly. Get it done.
No, have a phone. We can't get one of these to do it, a phone?
That's what I said yesterday.
We can do everything on our phone. We can't get food delivered or have it pre-ordered where you can walk up like we were talking about the Yelly about Chipotle. You can order Chipotle and they'll have it right there. You walk in, you grab the bag, they look at your ID and you say, see you later. There's no line you have to wait in. But here's my thing. On opening day, we all saw my first pitch that won, that beat Frage. Sorry, suck it, Frazier. Just throwing that in there. My family and my friends, they couldn't get it. They were late because the lines at Guaranteed Rate Field were so long. And I heard a lot of complaining about this. That they couldn't get into the game. They were there like 30 minutes before the game started. And it took them almost an hour to get into the game. With the quicker games, we got to figure out a better food way. We got to figure out better entry. We got to figure out all that stuff because otherwise people are going to miss half the game. They're going to be pissed.
Yep, agreed. And yeah, if you're sitting in the fancy seats, often you can order from your seat. I get that, but that needs to be figured out universally now. I know it's a big ballpark and it's not easy to pull off, but I know you can do it. Put your best people on it, and you can figure it out. I'm saying this not to knock anyone. I'm saying this to make sure that the fan experience is impeccable and that everyone and that the teams make their money. Because also, long lines are not cool. Like bragging about a long line, think about how many people are looking at that line and saying, screw it, I'm going back to my seat, I'll eat after the game. Boom, that is money out of your pocket. Next, money in the pocket of this lucky human being that sold a bat from Babe Ruth that he used in the early 1900s. So as a private sale, Hunt Auctions ends up getting it sold for $1.85 million. 1.68 mil was the prior record, also for another Babe Ruth bat. But the story for this one's great because someone bought it in 2018 for about $400 grand. And this is the bat from, I think when Ruth set the records in the, I'm just trying to see if it's 1920 or 21 season, when he hit 59 homers and at that time also hit the career homer record of 139. So this person buys this bat in 2018. You want to talk about a good investment? Sells it for 1.85 mil a few years later because they found photo proof. And that's what we're looking at right now. If you're on the YouTube side of things for podcasts, we're showing the picture of the bat. They were able to match it with photographic corroboration. I think I nailed that. To be able to tell that bat was the actual game-used bat, to further authenticate it and to make that person way, way, way more money than what they bought it for. Well done.
Yeah. Get that money. Get that money.
Get that cash. Hey, do you know it was 10 grade bat from PSA, which is like highest quality basically in terms of it being preserved to the utmost standards. This was the part I wanted to ask you all about. Average bat in the big leagues is what? Like 32? 33?
Oh,
ounce?
Size? Oh, size?
Yeah,
I
ounce.
thought you were talking about cost. I was like, wait, no, they cost.
No. 32 ounce?
Yeah, 31 to 33.
31 to 33? Okay.
Yeah.
Give me a guess on the weight of the Babe Ruth bat. Very different time back then.
45 ounces. I hate this argument because those dudes were throwing like this. They were throwing
I know that. I know it's not an argument.
First pitch.
Exactly.
Okay.
I
they
know
pitched
that
every day. So these guys' arms are like, oh.
Kratzy, you want to throw a guess out there?
How heavy it was?
Yeah.
I bet it was like a 36-42.
44.6 ounce bat. So, AJ, you basically nailed it. 45 ouncer right there. That's.
I love when the old guys. I love when the old guys always talk about that. They'll be like, they'll get in their hitting stance and they'll be like, yeah, you didn't think that Nolan Ryan Nolan Ryan didn't throw hard. He said, I used to swing a 36-38. One bat the whole season. BP, games. Ask Nolan Ryan if I could get it around. They weren't talking about everybody else who was throwing absolute poop up there.
Facts. All right, next up, Liam Hendricks. We have an update. He rings the bell, finishing chemotherapy. Is coming from his Instagram account. I mean, what a dude. Battling through, and he put in his caption, I started treatment after so many life-altering appointments. On January 9th, 2023, every 28 days, I would have another round. Every 28 days, I got closer to the PET scan that would dictate how many more rounds there would be. Every 28 days, I got closer to this moment. To family, friends, and fans, your support keeps me going. You kept me in the right frame of mind to beat this. Your encouragement made a bigger difference than you will ever know. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Let's go. And do we have an update? So he's feeling pretty good right now, and he's, of course, planning his attack to get back on the mound and just mow down hitters.
He's been throwing. I texted him yesterday. Whenever he posted, I think he posted that yesterday, and he said he has one more scan on the 18th of this month. So when that scan comes back, he is like, if you've ever gone to the rodeo, when the bull is sitting in the cage, it's not just sitting there. That thing is ready to go. And because Liam has no neck, he's just like this, and he's like, mate, I'm ready to throw the baseball. He is ready to go. And as soon as the 18th happens, I'm sure the White Sox are going to have to be like, Liam, pump the brakes. We got time. We're going to get you out there, okay? But he wants to go. He is huffing and snorting and ready to go for sure, especially when you accomplish something like that. I mean, just incredible for him, and so many prayers out for him and his recovery.
Love that.
I missed him in Chicago. He wasn't there on opening day, so I wanted to see him and talk to him. But happy he's back, and hopefully he'll be out on the mound soon.
And he'll help out AJ's prediction for the White Sox to make the playoffs. Liam,
they're
coming
down
back.
They're down 4-2, Scott. Today it hurts. It hurts.
You didn't throw Brett on that game though, so
I wasn't allowed to.
No, you can't pick the early games. You can't pick the early games. It doesn't really make sense based on the protocol. I do have a lot of rules. Next up, slap hands time. All right, I'm testing things out. I want to see if we can finish at a few minutes after 3, I guess, because that would be a full 2-hour show. I want to do a quick one, just a shout out to Jordan Walker. Hit his first home run in his career, a little line drive rocket to left. Military base of the day, Marine Corps Air Station Yuma, a U.S. Marine Air Station, home of multiple squadrons of F-32B Lightning IIs. That sounds awesome. Sounds intense, yeah. Of the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing. So we salute you. We appreciate you. Thank you for any of you tuning in. And I wanted to get this for my slap hands. I actually wanted to ask AJ a question just because we didn't have you earlier. Your thoughts on the Tim Anderson situation, because you're a very respected White Sox opinion. And he wanted timeout, and we've seen this issue a few times. Or not even wanted timeout, sorry. He felt like he was quick pitched, and you're coming from the catcher perspective. Should he be more ready, or are we tiptoeing the line of dangerous where a batter really isn't going to be ready at one point, and the ump's going to think he's ready, and then he's going to get hit by a pitch, and it's going to be ugly?
We don't want the hit by the pitch and get ugly. I kind of defer. I want to hear from Tim Anderson, like Ken Rosenthal said. But when you hear Logan Webb say, I looked in his eyes, he looked in my eyes, he seemed ready to go. I was ready to go. Let's pitch. That's all you can go off of. Now, him getting ejected, I don't know that I agree with that. I understand he's frustrated. But listen, as somebody that used to yell at everybody from the dugout, the pitcher, the catcher, the umpire, I get the frustration, and then I would get thrown at, and then other things would happen. But as the guy that I think needs to be the leader of this team now that Jose Abreu is gone, I feel like you got to know that line. And Tim crossed it, and he was ejected. Now, today he's back out there, and hopefully he doesn't get suspended. He gets a nice little $500 fine. He pays it to charity, and we move on. But, yeah, you just got to be ready. The rules, they're tight. They're going to be tight. Raul Ibanez, we talked to him. Every umpire said they're going to be tight early on. So just be ready. get your head up, and when you lock eyes, let's go. It's battle time.
Love that. And then I'm going to double down right to you. You've got something for us for slap hands?
I do. I saw this on Instagram today, and it's back when I was with the Giants in 2004. I just don't understand why everybody was upset. I clearly, when we show this replay, I did not lean into this pitch. But I'll let Kratz and Scotty be
Johnson
the judge.
ready to go. 0-2
Here we
pitch.
go. Did
That
he
one
lean
hit
into
him.
this pitch?
Back-to-back hit batsman. And that forces in a run. We're going to get an argument. Steve Reed's saying Brzezinski did nothing to get out of the way.
Oh,
Steve
look at Clint
Just
Hurdle.
got thrown out of the game. Clint Hurdle trying to
Ooh, there's contact
keep
with
Reed
the ump
away from the
Reed.
umpire. They're showing us a replay
I'm
right
looking
now
again.
without
Oh,
question.
AJ.
He's
Oh, my
out.
gosh. It's so bad on the replay.
The
What
best
are you talking
part,
about? I totally tried to get out of the way. I mean, that was an easy RBI.
the best
Wait.
part is it was a 9-2 ball game.
RBI, though. RBI.
You
We got,
are
what did the kids
such a-
yell? We got ice.
I love
We
it.
got
I
ice.
love it.
We had a situation in our game two days ago, not yesterday's game, the day before. Our hitter was batting, and the lefty threw like a back foot slider that ended up like a back knee slider, and the kid lifted his leg up. He lifted it up, and it hit his back leg. He lifted up, and it hit his knee, and the umpire goes, No, he moved it on purpose. Strike 3. And I was like, what? I said, I understand if you think he moved it on purpose, it's a ball because it hit him, because he didn't get out of the way, all the high school rules. The guy goes, no. If he moves it on purpose, that's a strike. And I'm just like, okay, like, what am I going to do? But AJ, that is, and were you wearing an elbow guard?
I always wear an elbow guard. Always. Same one my whole career. Always
I guess
wear an
that
elbow
is.
guard.
That
was my throwing
that's your
arm.
throwing arm. Yeah, no, that's your moneymaker. Okay, I got that.
You know what
Pitchers-
the sad part is, now that I see that replay? Steve Reed, first of all, is a sidearm righty. Those are the guys I feasted on. It was 0-2. Like, I should have hit that ball out of the park. I mean, it was a strike. But instead it hit me. I don't know. I don't know how it hit me with me jumping out of the way like that.
Talk about, were you laughing when you were going down the line? Because you were like this.
I was trying not to laugh, but then when you see Clint Hurdle and the poor pitcher Steve Reed get ejected, I mean, timeout. Yep, hit him clearly. Thanks, Marvin Hudson. I think he was the home plate umpire. So thank you, Marvin.
I like the form, Kratzy, where, I'm going to get out of the way. The way I get out of the way is lean in and then out. So let me catch it with the elbow and bring it back. Beautiful.
That's an acquired skill, boys. Acquired skill.
You were in a dark place if you were taking that RBI at the time from a right-handed sinker baller. I mean, talk about Babe Ruth not having to face anybody. Jiminy Christmas.
Dude's on the Rockies, too. Life already sucks. Team probably was terrible, and he's got to pitch in Colorado half the games and wear his damn arm out. And then AJ's freaking taking strikes away from him.
Strikes? What do you
like
mean?
that.
Hit by pitch RBI.
That's good. All right, let's play the music. That's a good way to finish things off today.
Wait.
Thank you so much. What? You got
Kratz
some?
hats. This is the one hat.
Oh, crap. You got to remind me, dude. Kratz hats. Run it.
Quick, before the music. This is the hat. This is the OG hat. Look how much sweat is on that thing. I actually played in the field. Can you guess what this is?
Medicine Hat Blue Jays.
I know.
What is it?
Oh, is that what it is?
You're exactly right, AJ.
Wow. That's good.
I mean,
Medicine
it says
Hat
MH,
Blue
and I know you
Jays.
played in Medicine Hat. I don't know where it is, but I know you
Yeah.
played there.
Yep.
My
this
answer was
hat
going to be
is
wrong, so
OG.
I'm not going to say it.
Wait, what position did you play in the field before we go?
Yeah, first base.
Oh,
Got
I was
super
hoping you would say
power.
like outfield.
Let's go.
Got big power.
Let's go. Don't sleep on those tats on that left bicep.
At outfield.
I see you. I see you. Grazie. I'll see you tomorrow. AJ, get some damn rest. You're all over the place, man. Crush that game Saturday, all right?
Picture
No, back
audio.
to Chicago. No game volleyball tournament in Chicago.
Oh, volleyball tournament. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. FT Live Fraser Friday. We'll be there. See you then. Good luck on your bets.